Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and joining me to talk about the Houston Cougars 2021 college football team is the man himself, Mr. Logan Landers. How's it going, brother?
Hey, what's up, Jeremiah? Happy to talk about the Houston Cougars today, giving them a little bit of love here on the program, see what they can do in 2021. I'm ready to talk about them, man. We're happy to talk some football with you on Monday mornings.
Absolutely. And I always say this for the season, but it's very true. I think all the Houston Cougars fans and the entire college football nation is ready to get back to seeing some football in person. They're ready to get back to the season. They're ready to do what they can to get back to the tailgates, to get back to the atmosphere, and to get back to one of these amazing college football seasons. And, our connections out in Houston are pretty good. Shout out to Sonny over at the Houston Defender, one of my favorite newspapers and one of my favorite people to talk to about the newspaper industry. And so, we love Houston, and I'm sure the Houston Cougars fans have a great relationship with the Houston Defender. And I'll tell you right now, I'm looking forward to hearing about this. So, Mr. Logan Landers, break it down. What's up for the Houston Cougars this college football season?
Well, to be honest, Jeremiah, they're trying to bounce back from kind of a rough 2020 season. They went 3-5 last year. They lost their bowl game as well. So not the best season all in all. But you can always just kind of, if you didn't have a good year last year for any college football team, you can always just chalk it up to whatever's going on in the world last year. So that's always kind of an scapegoat for a lot of teams who didn't have a good season. But I think Houston is going to have definitely a better season. They have a very good schedule for them. They're not facing too many tough teams. Just looking at some they're facing now in 2021, they're not facing that many tough opponents. I see Tulane, who we talked about earlier on the program, Texas Tech week 1. That's probably their biggest challenge, and they're getting that out the way week 1, so they ain't got to worry about that for too much longer. But other than that, it's games that they should win. I mean, I see some teams on here. I see Memphis. I see SMU, ECU, Tulsa. I mean, these are some games they're going to be a little bit close, but this is a very favorable schedule, I think, if you are a Cougars fan coming into 2021. This is definitely a schedule that this team enjoys, and I think they're going to get over that 500 record and kind of show everyone that last year was just a fluke. And, now they're going to be able to show what they can really do with a full season and how they can, exploit these teams and get these good wins on any given Saturday. And I think Houston has the track record to do that. They have a good team coming into 2021. So let's talk about that team. You have head coach Dana Holgorsen, who's coming in here, and I think they're going to have his best. This is going to be the best season he's going to have with his Cougars team this year. So over the last 2 years, they were 7-13, but I think that they are going to definitely close that gap this year and get a good amount of wins, get closer to that kind of 500 plateau over 3 seasons. So 7-14, not the best when you look at it on paper, but I think this team is building in the right direction. There's no doubt about that. You have Clayton Tune, who is your quarterback this year. He looks poised to potentially have a good breakout 2021 season. Your defense is getting 9 starters coming back, and they should show some improvement under coordinator Doug Belk. So I think this team is definitely going to improve this 2021 season. Let's talk more about the offense. So Clayton Tune, who is your quarterback, we'll see what he can do. He played parts of the last 2 seasons, but it did admit, though, he was never really able to get into a rhythm because they had 8 cancellations due to COVID-19 last year. So it's hard to get any kind of rhythm going, in general last year. So Clayton is, I'm sure, happier than a lot of people right now go into this 2021 season, get a full year under his belt. But even though he was kind of shorthanded in games and whatnot, he did have a good record, though. He had 2,048 yards in the air, but he does need to improve on his accuracy, though. He did throw 10 interceptions in the few games he played in the 8-game season last year. So that is a little rough on him. But I think that with a full offseason to kind of recoup, to just kind of enjoy life a little bit more now with restrictions being lifted, I think that that's definitely going to help him out. He's going to be able to relax more. And I think he's ready to get that next step that a lot of fans are talking about in 2021. So they did lose Marquez Stevenson, who was their top threat last year on the wide receiving core. He's now in the NFL. But you do have they also did lose Keith Corbin as well, who was in the transfer portal. So you did lose some guys, but you do have a few good guys coming back. You have Nathaniel Dell at wide receiving core, who led the team with 29 catches for about 400 yards last year. Not too shabby. but they are going to have they're going to need some more production from their wide receiving core that includes guys like Jeremy Singleton and Bryson Smith. So you have guys also in the transfer portal who are going to help out this team as well, like Keyshawn Carter, the second leading receiver at Texas Tech last year, came over, and I think that's really going to help out this Houston team with Clayton Tune. I think that's really going to help out. You have a tight end in Christian Terran, who's 6'3", 245, who has NFL potential. And now with kind of a more expanded role, I'm sure they can get him more into the offense a little bit more. You have Minnesota transfer Seth Green coming over. And I think that that's really going to be a good backup. And I think that this offense is really going to improve this year and take a much-needed step. So as for your backfield, you have returns of Mulba Carr and Chandler Smith, who are a pair of sixth-year running backs as well. So they, live and breathe Houston Cougars football, and now this is their super senior year in 2021. So they're going for one more time, but you do have some good young guys who are going to be able to step up. I think you have a transfer in Tajuan Henry, who's coming over from Texas Tech again. So you do have a good, experienced running back core, no doubt about that. You have some good transfers at the wide receiving room. You have a quarterback who's poised to take a next big step in his career. So I think that that's really going to help out. And then, of course, the offensive line. You added Cody Russi from Louisiana Tech, a big center. And then also you have Patrick Paul and Dennis Bardwell, both coming back from injuries. And also probably the best name on this team, Tank Jenkins, is also on that offensive line. 6'3", 350. You can definitely see why he is a tank, who is transferred from Texas A&M, who's going to be their starting right guard, it looks like. So I think overall, man, this Houston offense has a lot of good aspirations coming into 2021. I think they're going to have a good season. I think that Clayton Tune's going to take that next big step. The running back room is experienced as you can be. And I think the wide receivers, you're getting some good transfers. You got some young guys as well. So I think the offense is not the big concern here. The offensive line is solid as well. But the defense is really where this team needs to get a good boost, and they are getting that, though. The linebacking position will get a boost with the return of middle linebacker Donovan Mutin. So that does help. And, even the coach Holgerson did say that the defense had a notable drop-off when their team captain Mutin did go down last year. He did suffer an injury that only limited him to 3 games last year. So you're getting your captain back. You're getting your leader on defense for hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, in your superstition for an entire 2021 season. But you're also getting some good guys as well. You're getting Deontay Anderson, who is a good guy, 6'2", 230. He moves from safety to linebacker, so we'll see how he can do it in a new position. You have a talented group as well, like Giovanni Stewart, Malik Robinson, Nuneri, and then also Jordan Carmouche, who is going to really help out that defense once again. And they were active on the transfer market, man. They were really getting in those transfer portals and getting guys from different schools to come over and add depth to that defense. You got Latrell Bankston, who's coming over from Iowa State, who's going to get probably a little bit more playing time this year on the defensive line. You have David Anee and Derek Parrish, who are guys who combined for 8 sacks last year. So you're getting a good amount of talent from these transfer portals as well as on your depth chart. And I think that Houston is definitely going to have a better 2021 season. They also have Marcus Jones, who's going to be, probably one of the top cornerbacks in the AAC. And as well as Damarian Williams, who had 7 pass breakups in 2020. So I think that's really going to help out with these guys. I think that having good DBs and having an improved linebacking core with your captain coming back and also having a better D-line with those transfers, that's really going to help out this team. And with, pretty much a pretty favorable schedule, I think that Houston is they have all the tools in place into 2021 to have a solid season. I expect them to get 500 and above, I think. Not too many games, but I expect them to win a few games this year. I don't expect a repeat of 2020. I expect them to do bigger and better things in 2021, and it remains to be seen. But on paper, like you said with this team preview, I think that Houston has a lot of good tools to have a great 2021 season.
Yeah, I've got to agree there that coming into 2021, they've got some ideas. They've got some things they can be doing. And so, it's only upwards from here for the Houston Cougars. So, I would say anybody who's watching, what we want to really know, what are you feeling? What are you thinking about? What's on your mind for the Houston Cougars this year? And just tell us, we want to know from you. So tell us, leave us a comment on our Facebook, our YouTube, leave us a comment over at Twitch. And if you're listening to our podcast, leave us a review. And if you're not listening to our podcast yet, jump over and listen to our podcast. We have a new podcast that comes out every morning, where every day, pretty much, except for on the weekends. And you can listen to us all the time. We're 100 Yards of Football on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Just look us up. And one of the greatest things about our podcast is we don't just do college team previews. We do legends interviews. We do history specials where we talk about all the great players and all the great different games from all the different seasons, all the way back in time, because we have our great host, Vincent Turner, who started it all back on AM radio over 10 years ago. And he is a complete football encyclopedia. He brings incredible information about these teams. He has a great heart for it. He knows exactly what's going on with these teams. And he's just an amazing wealth of knowledge. Another thing that I like about our entire team, including Mr. Landers and including Bobby Butler, two-time All-American, 12-year vet in the NFL, is that there's such a depth of knowledge and such care that goes into talking about every one of these teams. And it's just a great thing. And I end up listening to a lot of our older podcasts quite a bit because there's such great information on there. And, as we go into this next season, you can stick with us and listen to new episodes where we'll discuss, the upcoming games and game previews and game recaps of some of the great games. Every morning you can listen to us on our podcast on your way to work, while you're at work, or if you're working from home, and then on your drive back home. So everybody, we really appreciate it, and we want you to tell us, what do you want to see and hear from us at 100 Yards of Football? That's what our mission is to bring you the absolute best in sports, in sports information, and especially football information. Every once in a while, we'll dive off and tell you about some other great stuff going on in the sports world. But for the entire team here, I am Jeremiah Long, the producer, and you've been listening to this in-depth coverage of the Houston Cougars from our dude, Logan Landers, our host. And we really appreciate it if you'd stay with us. We'll have another live video coming up shortly.